Hello everyone. I am going to double check and make sure that this is streaming. It looks like it is, but you guys know how I have not as much luck with technology as I would like. So I always have to double check just to make sure, because I want to make sure that you are getting the information you need. With technology as I... Okay, so I see that I have audio fully working. And I just wanted to get on here and talk about what's going on with Harold. This formed overnight, became a tropical storm officially, and it's about to make landfall probably in the next hour or so. The center of the storm, not quite on land yet. Usually landfall is when it is the center of the storm is fully on land. And sometimes it can be kind of hard to judge that with a tropical storm like this, because they are, they don't have an eye, necessarily a really well-defined eye like you would have with a hurricane, but they still have a center of circulation. And this system is interesting because it's impacting an area that's been in drought, likely going to see some flash flooding. We're going to see a few inches of rain. And the rain is good for the drought area. However, when you're so dry and you get a couple of inches or more of rain, this is looking like 2 to 5 with this system. What happens is that water has nowhere to go. It's not going to soak in easily. So typically what you see is a lot of flash flooding, and that's what we're concerned with. And this is a very interesting storm here. We're starting to see some of those convective bands move onshore. And basically what's happening with this is as it moves onshore, you're going to kind of get lashed with winds. You're going to get lashed with lightning, heavy downpours, and this is what it looks like through the remainder of the day. So this is really a one-day storm for a lot of folks, maybe even into tomorrow morning, seeing some lingering tropical moisture, but that's about it. So this is happening right now, and this is what we're looking at as we head into the next 15 minutes or so. And you can see that storm is moving on, but it is not quite there yet, but most of the moisture has moved onshore, so we're getting those downpours already. Let's take a look at the wind, because this really shows you that center of circulation right there. It looks like it is coming onshore there, just off the very southern tip of Texas. So there's Port Isabel. Let's see, I'm not sure if there's any named city kind of close to there, but kind of the Harlingen, I hope I'm saying that right, kind of metro area. There's McAllen right there. So this is moving onshore, but the center, it looks like, isn't quite on there. Now that top right area is where the highest winds are, and Corpus Christi is currently getting wind gusts around 43 miles an hour, 33 in Kingsville, and this is probably about 50 mile per hour winds that you're going to see with this storm as it moves onshore. So Corpus Christi down through the McAllen area are probably going to see the worst of the winds. As this moves onshore, it is going to start to really interact with the coastline and start to fall apart. Now, as we head east with this storm throughout the day, there you go. You see those winds really pushing onshore. And then what you see is these winds start to die down the further inland this storm heads. And there is some topography here in Mexico too, so likely going to see some landslides with this and also some really high wind gusts in those higher elevations. But most of South Texas, I would say wind gusts between 30 and 50 miles an hour expected. And we are covering this. We've got a live blog going. We've got the, we've got the hub going for the task force as well. So we are fully covering this storm, but I want to just emphasize that it's happening right now, and hopefully folks in, anywhere from Corpus Christi to McAllen are taking shelter. So that's the kind of current look at what's going on with Harold. We've also got Franklin and Gert and 2 little disturbances out here to watch for. None of these are a threat to the mainland U.S., and this is the first Gulf landfall of the season. Here's a look at the drought conditions in Texas, especially central Texas. This is kind of in the hill country right here and along the coast. You've got some extreme and exceptional drought, and hopefully that moisture does help out a little bit with this. But once again, you're going to end up, especially probably in the hill country, with a little bit of flooding and kind of earth movement just because it's been so dry. But this should be helpful for Texas. Texas has been in just the most ridiculous heat wave. So we do have a slight risk, as a level 2 out of 4, of excessive rainfall for southern Texas here, and a marginal risk for areas a little closer to, I think this is around Corpus Christi, yeah. So, really it's southern Texas, kind of Brownsville, McAllen area, Laredo that's going to see the worst of the rain, at least the most. And we are talking, a few inches of rain, probably 2 to 4, and on the high end, some folks will see 4 to 6 with this system. So it may not seem like that much, but it is, because you've got a drought. You've been very dry, very hot, and even just a couple inches on top of that can cause the flooding. And once again, this is the track. It will make landfall as a tropical storm, and then as it heads into the next couple of days, moving inland, and it'll be a depression, kind of falling apart at that point as it heads over Texas, and also into parts of western Texas. We'll likely see a little bit of the rain and moisture as well, and of course in Mexico, likely to see some landslides and other issues from this, just because of the topography as you head over Nuevo Laredo into Chihuahua. So we're going to be keeping an eye on that as well. But the main impact for southern Texas is just going to be some flooding and some damaging winds, and 45, 50 mile per hour wind gusts. That can rip off a few shingles. It can cause some issues. So make sure you have everything tied down, bring it in if you haven't already. You have a little bit of time, but not a ton of time to do that. And the other thing too, let me check the SPC, because notice there's a marginal risk right here. And the reason for that also is a lot of times with incoming tropical systems, you do get a few spin-up tornadoes, especially in that right front quadrant. So I would say probably more the Corpus Christi area would likely see maybe some spin-ups. I think there's been a couple of tornado warnings, at least one that I can think of, in southern Texas today. So you're likely going to have that. These would be tropical in nature, kind of quick, probably not, super strong, because you're not looking at, supercell tornadoes, but you have to pay attention and seek shelter if you're under a tornado warning, because these can do a lot of damage. A lot of times tropical systems produce EF1, EF2 tornadoes in that strength, and those can do a lot of damage. So make sure you're paying attention to that. Have a way to get those alerts on your phone. The Weather and Radar app will send you alerts straight to your phone. So if you haven't turned those on yet or downloaded them, now is the time to do it. Also, we've got the Weather and Radar app going right now. We've got, fully in Task Force Hub. We've got the live blog going. We got everything you need. And here's all of the analysis that you need. And, if you want to learn how to turn your alerts on, you can go to weatherandradar.com and, download it from there. Or you can go to your App Store, Google Play Store, and just type in Weather and Radar, and our app will show up for you. And, even if you're just visiting the website, all of this is still there. All of the products we have, including, the radar imagery and the, we have rain radar here, so you can see the purple is the heaviest rain. You've got temperature radar as well. And also we have our wind radar and lightning radar. And all of these really come in handy. And you can see most of the lightning is offshore right now. That will be moving in. Just a heads up. The other thing I wanted to point out too is the temperatures, because this is kind of crazy. So, we've got the storm here. We've got, Harold moving in, and that's going to hold temps down. But the rest of Texas still in that ridiculous heat wave. So like 104 today in Wichita Falls, 103 in Dallas. And we've got heat alerts up the wazoo all the way into the Midwest today. Let's take a look at where those are. Yeah, so you can see here, these are excessive heat warnings and advisories all the way up into Minnesota, into Wisconsin, into, portions of the Tennessee and Ohio valleys. And then down here in Texas, you've got, Dallas, Fort Worth, Waco, Abilene. You're in these heat warnings, but then you have a tropical storm warning in southern Texas. So very interesting. And then you also have flood advisories out here in West Texas, which is good, because we're likely to see some of that tropical moisture moving in as Harold moves inland. So a lot to talk about with the weather. That's what we're seeing right now. The Atlantic is getting very active, so we are going to continue to keep you up to date. But just please stay safe. Make sure that you are on alert, and just keep it here for the latest. Join us online on our live blog. Send us pictures if you can do that safely. We like to see pictures, video. You can reach out to us on our socials. We are here to keep you safe and to answer your questions. So I hope you guys have a fantastic afternoon, or morning and afternoon, I will leave you with a final look at what's happening right now as Harold starts to move on shore. Stay safe, my friends.